A very common question in non-duality circles is that if non-duality is the truth, it is the reality, then why can't I feel it? Why can I not feel it? I intellectually understand that non-duality is all there is. Oneness is the true nature of reality, and it's just all names and forms that I see all around me due to my senses. But even after years of studying non-dual philosophy and books and scriptures, hearing many people talk about it, and also some people, even after intellectually grasping it to a great degree, almost, I mean, not even to a great degree, but fully, they still find it not satisfactory. And their core problem is that they don't feel it. They don't feel oneness. They don't feel non duality. But really, the problem why they don't feel it is that feelings come from a place that itself is unfulfilled. Where do feelings come from? When you feel strongly about something like love or hatred or jealousy or affection towards someone, children, for example, or romantic love with your partner, it's generally emotional, right? Even if you don't call it emotional, it is a feeling, right? And you want to feel connected with everything. You want to feel oneness, you want to feel non-duality. But we have to see, where do feelings come from? Think about it for a little while, and you'll see feelings, they come from the heart. Now, many of you would say yes. Immediately you will say yes, feelings do come from the heart. That's true. And many of you will say no. I mean, heart is a blood pumping organ. It doesn't produce psychological stuff like feelings. And that's true. When I say the heart, I do not mean that muscle, the organ, which is an extended muscle. It's just a different muscle, but that's not the heart that I'm talking about. The heart that generally we speak of when talking about matters of love or emotion or feelings is the heart in a mental sense. And what is that? It is the subconscious mind. Starting from the head down to the deepest part. If you think of your mind as the head, and mind is not the brain, right? Brain is the organ, but the mind is our thoughts, our calculations, our deductions, what we think of the world, the way in which we think of the world, all the information that we have stored. All of that is the mind. Think of it as the operating system versus the processor, like in a computer. Brain is the processor, and mind is the operating system. And just like in an operating system, there are files that you do not know about. There are files that you yourself have stored in folders. You know when you made them, you know when you stored them, you know when you last accessed them, you know how large they are, what's contained in those folders. But there are system files as well that you don't know nothing about. Only experts do. But they are the system files, the core operating system files that most of us do not know nothing about. If you're not a programmer who works with the operating system company, you don't know what those files are. Similarly, our mind has a deeper part, which is called as the subconscious mind. And subconscious means just that, the part of the mind which is below conscious hold, or you below conscious axis. That is the subconscious mind. And that is what we know as the heart. In simple terms, in old times, in English, even where I live in India, even in, you go to the Middle East, everywhere you'll have a word for heart. It has a romantic connotation. Feelings and affections, where do they come from? They come from the heart. You will see it mentioned in songs and poems and literature. And the subconscious mind is what they're talking about. Now, what really is the heart? What really is the heart. The heart is just your suppressed desires or suppressed needs, wants, emotions. You felt angry at a point and you couldn't express it. You just didn't express it because of some external factors, like the situation that you were in, or maybe the person was an important person or somebody who you respect and couldn't show anger to. So you just swallow it. You suppress that anger. That suppression is your heart. And that's as simple as it gets. It's stored in your body, maybe in the mind, maybe not in the mind. It is in the mind, but maybe in the brain. We don't know for sure, right? Neuroscience is still a big mystery. Where is information exactly stored? It's somewhere in the brain, may or may not be in the brain. Some reflex actions are stored in the spinal cord, but it's stored somewhere, right? But we are more interested in talking about the content of that storage. What exactly is stored? The content is the mind or the subconscious mind. The mind is just layers and layers of information. And the subconscious mind is suppressed emotions, suppressed desires. You wanted to buy something, but you couldn't. You maybe got infatuated with a person that you saw on TV, or you feel deeply connected with an actor you saw in a movie, or an actress you saw in a movie, and you have a deep attraction towards them. But you can't really approach those actors in real life. They live in a different city or maybe in a different country. All of that goes into a suppression to some degree, right? You might think, no, I don't. I mean, my heart is not full of longing for actors and actresses, or resentment or anger against somebody. These are little pieces, and the heart is made of many such little pieces. But what's important is that you'll see all of these are unfulfillment to some degree. They are just all unfulfillments, as I like to call them, dissatisfactions, deep longing, right? And that is what the heart is made of, unfulfillments. I know that's not proper grammar, but I still like to call it that. And these unfulfillments are where feelings come from. You subconsciously get attracted to people who look like the people that you were first attracted to as kids. If you feel anger for somebody at a given point of time, years later when you meet them, or thousands of interactions later, you still carry that resentment for them, unless it is expressed. Expression is one way to lighten the heart, to chip away the heart. But expression later, if not done at the moment, later, is very hard to do. But my point being, the heart is made up of unfulfillments. It's just imagined. I call it imagined because you were fulfilled anyways, right? You just got conditioned in a way where you develop a longing or an attachment or a deep desire to do something, and you couldn't do it. So that missing piece is within you. That is the heart. That is the heart. And that is where all feelings come from, as I say. And you'll see in the next few seconds why I'm stressing on this and repeating this again and again. Because if you try to feel non-duality, you're essentially trying to use the unfulfillment to be completed by something that is already complete, right? So if you really wanted a tortoise as a pet growing up as a child, a tortoise can really bring you tears of joy years later when somebody presents you a pet tortoise, or you finally get a tortoise for your child as a pet. You'll really find that fulfillment, or somewhat part of it, 80% or 90%. But in non-duality, that becomes a paradox, which means it cannot be. It just cannot be, because you're trying to feel completeness or wholeness using an instrument or an organ that is unfulfillment itself, the heart. You will never feel it. So you can't really rely. And it's not even a matter of relying or depending on the heart. Nobody's heart is dependable in this case, because it is impossible to feel non-duality. It just has to be understood. Even understood is a wrong term to a degree, because the correct term is realization. You just have to realize it. That is why they always say non-duality cannot be intellectually understood, but it also cannot be felt as a deep emotion, as a deep feeling. It just can't. And I explained you why. All other things can be fulfilled. All other sorts of desires can be fulfilled. But yeah, the longing is never really 100% matched or 100% fulfilled, but it can be fulfilled to a great degree, right? Let's say you were craving a pizza. Let's say you are in a place where you couldn't get a pizza, but you get spaghetti, which is very, it's very delicious. You find it very tasty, and it fulfills you to some degree, but it's not a pizza. And even if you get a pizza, it may not match the idea of that exact pizza feeling that you were craving, that exact flavor, but it can be fulfilled, right? But in non-duality, it becomes a paradox, because your longing is to feel completeness itself. And completeness is not a missing piece. Everything else is. Completeness is completeness. Oneness is oneness. Non-duality is non-duality. It doesn't have pieces that fit into it, right? And it becomes very, very difficult. People get stuck in this for years together. They they just they just keep intellectually grasping ideas and wrestling with all the concepts that they've learned about. They keep trying out traditions. They go to these retreats where you feel many other things. You feel relaxed. You feel the thoughts slow down, and the absence of thoughts. You feel your mind being empty also. Total ease, totally relaxed, with no thoughts bothering you. And these are all great feelings, but these are not feelings of non-duality, because you just can't feel it. You just can't feel it. And the key teaching here, the key thing to understand here, is that non-duality is something that must be realized as a truth that is already here. And we are in error. We are in error. Our heart is an error. Our mind is an error. It is a mutation out of that oneness, a sort of mutation which is not as beautiful as reality is, as non-duality or oneness is. This multiplicity is a mutation, an apparent mutation of it, including our hearts and minds. We can't use them to really understand, you know, the thing that is powering them from behind them. And really, don't get disappointed that I can't feel non-duality now, and it's impossible to feel it, which means all of this amounts to nothing. I will be never free from my sufferings, and I'm going to die one day, and I wasted so much time knowing about non-duality. That's foolish to think like that. Non-duality has just to be realized. It is already there. It is already present, and it just doesn't need any grasping. You just need to relax into it, and relax not in a physical way. You closing your eyes and letting the thoughts die down, like you do in meditation. Meditation does wonders for your mind, for your psyche, the way you feel. But just meditation is not going to make you reach a place of non-dual realization very easily. I mean, you realize one aspect of it, which is that you are not even your thoughts, you are not even your mind. You are that quiet awareness that just springs into a beautiful scenery or a colored expression the moment you try to try to experience something, like a thought, or an emotion, or just imagine something with closed eyes, or just open your eyes and see the world around you. It just springs into action. That true self, that can be known through meditation, but not the non-dual nature of everything, including the illusion that you see in front of you, the the table, the chair, the trees, the sky, the mountain, so many vivid things. Just like the eyes are the instrument that make us see these objects around us, so the eyes cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted because they show different things to different beings, right? Like a bat experiences everything as vibrations. It doesn't have very powerful eyes. And there are creatures with more powerful eyes than us, like an eagle. It sees colors that we don't even see. So which version is real? The version that I see, or the version that a bat sees, or the version that an eagle sees? None of these are real. It's just they are instruments that are perceiving reality in a certain way, based on how the same photo appears different with different cameras, right? Those cameras have different specifications. So it's not really the picture that you're taking, it's really the specifications of the camera that are producing all the variations. Our eyes operate in a similar way, But yeah, that is for another time. Today was to discuss how and why the you can't feel non-duality. That's because you're using the heart. All feelings come from the heart. So you can't really feel it, and also you can't really see it and touch it. But that is explained very well many times in most of the traditions. But you can't feel it like with your eyes closed, or I just am very disappointed with these guided meditations that are all over the place, where you just close your eyes and try to feel yourself one with everything. No, you just can't. You just can't. That doesn't work. So, to close this, one has to evolve. We have evolved through being unicellular to multicellular, to being beings in water, to getting out of water, and then to mammals, and then from mammals to you know to these monkey-like, well, not monkeys, but monkey-like creatures, and then evolving into Homo erectus, and then Homo sapien, and still evolving. Those are just the big chunks of evolution that we just discuss. But humans are going through evolution, and everybody is mutating on a on a very small level, minuscule level. But those small mutations, those small bursts of evolution are really needed. In Indian philosophy, the human level of consciousness is considered very special, because at this level you gain the ability to realize the non-dual nature of existence. You get to really know non-duality. You are able to turn the light of consciousness on consciousness itself in a way, and you're able to know reality for what it is. Yeah, I mean, yes, just realization is the only way. Realize it intellectually, and then at a point where you know why intellect fails in grasping it, because the mind can't grasp it. The senses show us a picture, the mind also shows us a picture, and the heart is just unfulfillment. It just shows us dreams, right? It just shows us longings. It throws strong feelings at us that we are unfulfilled, and we'll find fulfillment outside if we just get that thing. If I just get that pet tortoise, if I just get that person, if I just get that next house, or a big bungalow, or a lot of money. Yeah. So think about it. Think about it.